Hello people of YouTube, it is I. You may know me on this channel as Multiclassic Gamer. You may know me as my real name, which is Aaron, as my birth name. But I'm about to open up to you in a way I've never ever opened up on this channel before, or any other presence on the internet, at least all the way. In the past few years, I've made discoveries about myself. I've basically gone like a journey of self-discovery of sorts, and I've learned quite a few interesting things about myself, and I almost wish that they happened earlier, but at the same time, I can also understand why they didn't, and it practically kind of upsets me, but at the same time, what are you gonna do? But we're gonna be covering LGBT stuff today. And if that is a problem with you, I would suggest clicking out of this video. In fact, I would suggest if you're subscribed to my channel, unsubscribing entirely, because, spoiler alert, you are subscribed to a LGBT person. So, with all that out of the way, let us begin. So growing up, going through public school, I knew almost nothing about LGBT stuff. Especially in elementary, middle school. The subject was never ever brought up in elementary school and never brought up in middle school either. The public school system of this country is a joke. I don't know how it is in other countries. I don't really pay much attention to it, but I can definitely tell you in this country from personal experience, it's a joke. It really is here. And it makes me feel bad for the LGBT youth of this country. But I'm not going to go too much into specifics about it. I'm only going to talk about my personal experiences, because I'm not in any way qualified to talk about, to go that deep into like politics and stuff. But, this is pretty much mostly about personal experiences. And, those around me that have allowed me to share as much as I can about it, essentially. So in elementary school, the topic of sex was brought up once, and the only thing that came about that was one day when we were about to graduate high school or elementary school, I think it was, they sat all us fifth graders down, and I think they might have separated the boys and the girls by room. I don't know, I can't remember that much about it, but all I know is that from that day, basically what came out of that is that sex is a thing that exists. That's about it. That's all that came out of that day. That's all I learned about in elementary school, and that's pretty much nothing. I still had no clue what the hell it was. I knew nothing about it. So they simply told us that the subject existed, but yeah, LGBT stuff was never brought up, basically. And then going to middle school, I started to somewhat learn about it. Basically, in middle school we had these health classes, and one of the topics that was covered was sex. There was like a whole section of the class known as sex ed, where they teach you about that kind of stuff. And what that came down to was that straight sex is a thing that exists. Here's how it works. They give us the diagrams and pictures and stuff like that. Some kids would laugh like usual and stuff like that. All the how that goes. And STDs and pregnancy exist, so do not have sex because of these things. And that was it. That was the extent of middle school health class. That was the extent of sex education. Once again, LGBT stuff was never brought up. But even so, by middle school, us kids were starting to have access to the internet, even though we probably shouldn't have it at those ages, but regardless, we did. Some of us did. Some of us more than others, even. And so we started to learn that being gay was a thing. I will say, I'm sure a lot of people, like some kids around me, knew about LGBT stuff, like the community in general. I'm pretty sure the only thing I knew in middle school was just the fact that gay people existed, and that was from the kids around me that talked about it. And I think in the entire time I was in middle school, I never knew anyone who was LGBT. I I know people who went to school with me that would eventually come out as LGBT members, but yeah, I still knew nothing about the subject essentially, but other than the fact that somehow being gay was wrong, being gay is bad, it is taboo at best, essentially. I remember in 7th grade, I think there was like a room. I think way back in 7th grade, there was this rumor that I was gay. I think. With another close friend of mine. I won't go into that specifically, but I remember that being an issue to me. Nowadays, if that were to happen, I wouldn't give a damn. And honestly, it wouldn't be entirely false, but I mean, it would still be false, but not entirely. But we'll get into that more later. Yeah, I remember that from 7th grade. I guess I should also mention this about my family, going back a little bit. My dad's family is of Catholic background, so when I was very, very, very young, I remember going to church like when I was like 6, like as late as age 6, like maybe around the time I started elementary school. But after that, I wouldn't go to church again for like up until like one instance in high school, and that was in 2013, like senior year. I had a friend who regularly attended church, and they offered me and my partner at the time to go with them, and yeah, it was a fun experience for what it's worth. But yeah, I just didn't care for like I just never cared for religious stuff in general. So basically, the whole point that I'm trying to get across here is that pretty much from the beginning of elementary school onward, I was agnostic. I believe that there might be something more than what I see, but also at the same time, I didn't care for, dedicating time to worshiping or even giving much thought to it, essentially. But regardless of that, I always still had a moral compass of sorts growing up. I still knew obvious things that were wrong, like murder and violence and stuff like that. It was that just all came naturally to me. Obviously it was taught to me by my parents when I was very young, so it just came naturally to me, all that stuff. I'm not gonna say that I was entirely good kid. In fact, I was horrible in elementary school at certain times, but I quickly grew out of that in middle school, and instead became a social recluse of sorts. Like let's just say I didn't have the best situation at home, and because of that I was very socially awkward. I just didn't feel comfortable trusting people outside of my close circle of friends that I had growing up, that you now know as United We Play. And as far as LGBT stuff is concerned, the subject just never came up in my home life growing up. I never knew like what my mom's opinion of it was. I never knew what my dad's opinion of it was. I just never knew. The only thing I was told to focus on in growing up was just school. Only care about schoolwork, and that's it, nothing else. And the way it was hammered in, and the way, my living situation was at home, it was, I believe it was very damaging on me, and contributed to a very low self-image, a very low self-esteem. I just never had a high opinion of myself growing up. I never did. And I still really don't to this very day. But growing up, I always thought that I just had a low self-image and low self-esteem for just no reason. It was just there. I just had it. I just didn't care for myself. I hated myself. This right here, I hate it. I don't like it one bit. This thing right here, it looks terrible. It always has. It does now. And that's never going to change. Well, it will change, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, basically the way it stands right now, to me, it just represents complacency, deception, and in no way my true identity, basically. Every time I saw a picture of it, I hated it. Whether I had friends there with me in that picture, whether even in my vlogs, like when I look back on these vlogs for editing, I think, wow, my face looks horrible. Like in my personal opinion, it's a face that only a mother could love in the most literal sense. I just never liked my face. Never will have a high opinion of my natural face ever. But growing up, I always thought that it was just for no reason. I just didn't like the way it looked. Some people tell me otherwise, but yeah, being socially awkward and the things that were said to me in my living situation at home, it never helped, and it only made it worse over time. Now, there is a specific reason why I bring up, my low self-image in part of this video talking about LGBT stuff. That's going to be very important for later. But yeah, the whole point is with the middle school and my living situation at home, me having low self-image and low self-esteem, I had, not only that, but I guess I should also mention, like, back in middle school, and still to a certain extent, like, on, like, the internet and stuff, I can see gay being used as an insult, the word gay. And for the most part, I don't think it should ever be used as an insult. Whenever someone does call me gay as intended as an insult, I say thank you, because technically gay does have two meanings. It can mean happy. So back in the day, I would take it as a compliment, even though someone's trying to insult me. I mean, that was after middle school. I don't think I had a lot of people like calling me gay necessarily. Like I had there was that short period of the whole rumor, but that was about it. Otherwise, I just kept it to myself. I never talked to anyone, and thus didn't have to deal with that very much. Aside from my close friends, but we didn't do that to each other either for the most part. Went on that topic for long enough. Anyways, going to high school, things started to change a little bit. As I went to high school, my living situation changed a lot, and I had more access to the internet. And so I was gradually starting to learn more stuff, but it wasn't in school. Because even in high school, the subject never really came up. There were certain classes that would bring it up, and one of them was a psychology class that I never took, but one of my friends, Ultra 64 Fan 1, took it, and supposedly LGBT was brought up in that particular instance. But otherwise, in regular classes in high school, LGBT stuff was never brought up. So once again, all of our knowledge came from the internet and having access to it. People talk about the internet so much about how it's very dangerous and a very unsafe place, and to an extent, yes, that's very true. I still think that I can see the argument for kids having limited access to the internet. In fact, in that particular case, it would be up to the parents to be open-minded, and unfortunately, that's not the case most of the time. A lot of times, parents just keep their kids off the internet because they don't want for a fair reason, they want them to be safe, but also because they keep them from learning about, going through this whole self-discovery sort of thing. But needless to say, freshman year, I definitely knew nothing about LGBT stuff. I knew of the word transsexual, but not the word transgender. So I did not have a proper understanding of transgender stuff. And with that, I bring up the subject of a particular video that me and the rest of United We Play made back in August of 2011. At the time, this video was on my channel. It was called Mario Kart Wii Multiplayer Madness. That video now exists on our channel, United We Play, our collaborative channel, United We Play. And it's still up there if you're curious about it. But I will warn you, especially those who are transgender out there, don't take what we say too seriously, especially, it was during the race at the DK Summit is when the whole subject brought up. Somehow the subject of Birdo, I guess I should, let me take a look at the video real quick. Yeah, this video is hard to watch, especially to this day. Especially as time goes on and I've opened up my mind and changed my perspective over time, this video gets harder and harder to watch. Basically, we were racing in a DK Summit. It's I think the race starts at 3.5 minutes or so into the video. It was the second race we did. And at a certain point, early on in the race, I brought up the subject of Birdo. Now, Birdo was one of the earliest examples of a transgender video game character in Super Mario Bros. 2. And I hear myself using the word transsexual in this video, and it really pisses me off. And not only that, but also, I never point blank said in that video that transgender, or whatever I was calling it, was bad necessarily, but it's heavily implied by my inflection and the way I'm talking that I had a low opinion of it and thought it was weird. Now, to be fair, the two friends that are with me at the time, Yoshi Fan 2012 and Yoda, who now goes as Corsair Joe on here, they were also in the conversation, like saying it was weird and stuff like that. But it was definitely, I'm more upset at myself over that whole debacle than anything else. It's just it's a big example of, you know, how important it is to be open-minded, and especially knowing what was going on. You know, like, I can only imagine what was going through Yoshi Fan 2012's head at the time, because at the time she was starting to question her own identity at the time, and the fact that she had to call it weird just to feel like she was part of the group. It just feels like even more just worse thinking about it. I just think that it's very important to be open-minded. Like, this is a specific example of why it's important to be open-minded and to have an open perspective when covering topics like this, because you never know especially if you're having a conversation with all your friends and you don't know what's going on through their heads, you don't know the situation that they're in, like what, you know, if they might happen to be part of this topic and they're just afraid to talk about it. And now they're even more afraid to talk about it because of the fact that you had this really bad take on it. But I will say by right now, and I probably should have said this at the very beginning, I do not stand by anything I said in that video whatsoever. It was a very poor take. It came from a place of total lack of understanding. And yeah, perspectives have changed since then. So that was the thing. That happens during the summer between freshman and sophomore year. It was August 2011. I know the video says it was uploaded September 20, 2012. It was actually August 2011 originally on my channel, because United We Play channel didn't exist originally, and stuff was uploaded. These videos we made were uploaded on my channel. So fast forward through high school. At this point, once again, I had more access to the internet. I was pretty much on YouTube all the time whenever I was out of school. And, you know, obviously I was making my own content. I was very involved with my channel over time. And, you know, I had a lot of free time to watch YouTube videos that I definitely don't, well, I kind of have now because I'm on vacation, but, you know, it's besides the point. Yeah, because I had a lot of free time to watch videos, I learned about myself. I learned to appreciate the LGBT community a little bit, and I, you know, had a more open mind and open perspective on it. As I watched more videos and whatnot, people people, you know, doing their coming out story, kind of like I am now. But yeah, I know there's a lot of build up to it, but I'm getting to it. I promise I'm getting to it real soon. But the whole point of that is that basically, as high school went on, I opened up my perspective more, and especially going to college. Because in college, they actually do have classes and majors dedicated specifically to LGBT stuff, you know. There's a whole lot of classes that you can take in college to learn about gender studies and all the specifics and whatnot on it. I can definitely tell you, there's still so much that I don't understand about it that I'd like to learn in order to better understand myself, and as well as those around me. So fast forward to March 25th, 2017. I believe that's the exact date. And I know that because I actually was recording videos at the time. In fact, I recently uploaded vlogs from around this time, April 2017, when we gave Yoshi Fan 2012 her birthday Switch. But a month before that, I also visited Western Washington. I didn't post these videos. I probably never will, but I did record some clips from you know, when I was hanging out with my friends back in Western Washington when I was visiting them. I think it was an overnight trip too. I can't remember though. But either way, I went over there and I visited them. We played video games. We hung out like usual. It was a wonderful time. Obviously, I wasn't in college anymore. I was living on my own and stuff like that. Yada, yada, yada. But then I remember we were in the car, and I think we were on our way to like go out to eat or something like that. And that was when Yoshi Fan 2012 came out to us as transgender. And at the time, we all supported it. We were very openly supportive about it. We asked any questions we had so we could try to, you know, understand it more. I don't know how much Corso Joe and Ultra 64 Fan 1 knew about it, but I definitely had had a lot more to learn. But either way, by the time this had happened, I was pretty open about it. And actually, you know what? That brings me back to, I should probably bring up the fact that I actually do have a family member who's also transgender. I'm not going to say their names, I'm going to keep them anonymous because I don't know if they want me to be talking about this. I would assume not, but I do happen to have a family member who's transgender, and they actually came out in 2010, 11 years ago. And at the time I think I was indifferent to it at the time. So it makes it even more worse, the fact, like that whole situation with the Mario Kart Wii video, because the fact is I knew someone at the time who was transgender, and I still didn't understand as much as I should have at the time. So that just makes it even worse, actually, just knowing that. But I know they came out in 2010 because there was other stuff going on at the time. I remember learning about it, being just indifferent to it. I think my mom was too. But yeah, I won't go too much into specifics about that. But yeah, basically the point is I already should have by this point understood at least something about it. The point is by the time that Mario Kart Wii video was made, I should have had a better understanding of it than I did. So going back to Yoshi Fan 2012, we originally knew her all those years before as a he, and now we had to start calling her a she, and it took some time for it to set in. We weren't used to it, but so it took a few months for it to finally catch on and for us to be used to it. But we had to, because that's what support friends do. That's what people, if someone cares, that's what they would do. And I would gladly do it again for any other friend. You may notice that in the Bailey's birthday Switch vlog, I referred to her as he. The only reason I did that, at the time specifically, was because I didn't know whether or not that she wanted it to be public or not. So that's why I referred to her as he at the time. But I'm pretty sure even then I might have still gotten it wrong a few times, because I wouldn't, it just takes some getting used to it. But you have to do it if you want to be a great friend, a supportive friend. Obviously, I had to learn quite a bit about it in between, starting college and the time that Yoshi Fan came out to us, because by then I knew how important it was to respect pronouns. Regardless of whether you have something against that person, whether they're a close friend of yours, whether they're a family member, you should always respect their pronouns, because it can be very damaging to misgender someone. It really can be, because they want to move on from their past identity that people knew them as before, and it's not easy when someone keeps on calling them by their wrong pronouns. So perspectives were definitely changed by then. So the point is, things changed at that point. We now knew that one of us was LGBT, and yeah, as over time, it was different first, but we accepted it, and we after a few months we got used to calling her proper pronouns. And she even said it. Remember in our August 2017 Multiplayer Madnesses, especially the Wii Sports one, Yoshi Fan basically said it point blank that she is a girl in the Wii Sports Multiplayer Madness. So it's definitely it's important to remember that as well. Cut to November 2018. And actually, I'm gonna have to get back up again real quick, because up to this point is where I have to tell you guys that I, over the years, have been using dating apps. I don't know if you're familiar with dating apps, but essentially you're only supposed to use them if you're at least age 18, and I did. I first used Tinder when I was in college, freshman year of college, and I became a lot more patient, and I just, after a while, just didn't care, so I deleted the app. Nothing came of it after a few months, and then I believe, I can't remember the second time I used Tinder, but I believe it was, yeah, it had to be sometime in 2018 I started using it. I think, actually, I don't remember if I used it when I was still in my one-bedroom apartment in Cheney, or if it was after I moved to Everett, Washington. But either way, in 2018 I moved to Everett, back to Everett, and I roomed with Yoshi Fan 2012. At this point, I was attempting to get into the dating scene. My last relationship was the first 6 months of 2017. But yeah, after that, I think that's when I started using Tinder again. And I continued to use it up until moving to Everett. But there's a reason why I bring this up, and it's very important for what I'm about to say next. In November 2018, or late October, I can't remember what the exact date was. I'm pretty sure it was November 2nd, 2018. I suddenly decided one day, because I was also kind of I wanted more friends too to hang out with. I'm not sure exactly why. I don't know why I wasn't content with the friends that I already had in 2018. If anything, I should have been doing. This should have came up like when I was in Cheney still, in my one-bedroom apartment. Because then, yeah, I was very lonely and desperate for friends, let alone a relationship. And but either way, what I did was I decided one day, because up until this point, I thought I was straight, so I set it to only display women, essentially. That's what you do, like, if you're straight, or for whatever, you adjust the settings so that it only displays the desired gender identity or sex that you want to date. So yeah, somehow I made the conclusion on there that I wanted to make more friends. So what I did was I changed the settings to allow myself to see men on there. And at the time, that's how it started, as I was just talking to guys on there trying to make friends. But sometimes the conversation would go a little differently. It would go a little further than that, even to the extent of meeting up. And what I realized at the time was that I was actually into the conversation. I was not creeped out or upset by what I was seeing. But, well, I mean, like, I wouldn't have been upset either way, but, like, I didn't feel inclined to say, sorry, I'm straight, I'm not into this. And it was at that point that I began to question my sexual orientation. I acknowledged that I was still into women, per se, but I realized at the time that I was also into men. And so it was at that moment that I realized that I was bisexual. I thought about it for a couple days, because I wasn't sure entirely. I thought to myself, maybe I was just curious. But then I realized, looking back, I actually had fantasies that would object to me being straight as far back as age 13, middle school. Of course, I suppressed those because I was in a situation where, the environment around me did not, was not open to that. They, it was considered taboo at the time. So I suppressed those fantasies when I was at that age. To be honest, though, when I found out that I was bisexual, I actually didn't really have a problem with it. By this time, I was very much I had a better understanding and a better appreciation for the LGBT community. I was very, very much accepting of it, and so I didn't have an issue with it at all. What I did have an issue with was how people would potentially respond. But I knew I had a good idea at the time of who would accept it and who wouldn't. So I told my friends first. Now, if you are in this situation where you don't know, where you know this truth about yourself that nobody else knows, I would recommend telling friends first, especially those that are, like, if you know anyone else, like, if you already know someone who is in the LGBT community, whether it's a family member or a friend, I would strongly recommend telling them first. But if you don't, like, especially if you don't know any LGBT members in your family, I would suggest telling friends first. Because unlike family, you choose who you're friends with, essentially. You choose the people that you hang out with and continue to hang out with after school, like after, you get through public school and stuff. So, and therefore, you most likely trust them with some of your secrets that you wouldn't trust your family members with, potentially. So I came out to close friends of mine who I knew I could trust with the information, and that included my United We Play members. And I think the best part about this is that it gave me and Yoshi Fan 2012 a connection of sorts, because now we were the two LGBT members in our friend group. We still trusted and knew that our two other close friends would accept us just as much, but it still gave us like a connection of sorts, essentially. That because we felt more, it just made it all the more easier to have someone who was also part of the LGBT community, even if it was like in a different a different sense. She's trans and I'm bisexual. It still gave us a connection of sorts because we were under the umbrella, as it were, together. Yeah, so that was that. And then eventually I did, I think it was around, I don't remember if it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. I think it was around Thanksgiving. By then I told my mom, and basically her entire side of the family, actually. And so they know about it. But to this very day, I still haven't told my dad or any of his family. Because I don't know, like, how he would take it. I still don't know his opinion on LGBT stuff, so I haven't told him yet. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't watch my videos, but if he does, well, I guess that's how he finds out. And if so, hi, Dad. Sorry you had to find out this way. I'm very selective of the people I tell. I mean, it's a pretty big deal that I'm opening up basically to the entire internet about this, but yeah, in real life, I'm very selective of the people that I tell this information because sometimes it's hard to tell who you can trust and who you can't. Until, I'd have to, essentially, the only way I'd probably ever tell my dad is if the subject just came up and he said he was supportive of it. But I'm never going to randomly just bring up the subject to him, so that's probably, I don't know if that'll ever happen. Especially not the rest of his family, because I know that they are Catholic conservative, so, yeah, I just never bring up the subject whenever talking to them. I'm always happy to hang out with family and whatnot, but it's always more pleasant experience when politics are not brought up or anything like that, or anything related to LGBT stuff, because I don't know what they're going to say, and it's probably best to keep that in the blue, honestly. So that's pretty much a big point of this video, is me coming out to you guys officially, or coming out to everyone here, is that I'm bisexual. I'm not straight. I'm not the straight white man you probably thought I was growing up, but and up until November 2018 I would have agreed with you there, but I'm not. And but there's more to it than that. We're still not quite done with the story yet. This video is probably only half the length it is or so by now. Or you're probably only halfway through the video right now at this point, if you even bothered to watch this far, and I apologize so much for this video being so long. But there's more to talk about here. Now, I don't want to go too much into the specifics, but basically, as I learned, after learning about my sexuality, basically, it came down to, I'm gonna use the word experimentation, to learn what I like and what I don't like. And but the ultimately what it comes down to is people respecting your boundaries, essentially. So that way you can learn what you like and what you don't like in a safe environment. Now, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever gone public about it. I have dropped hints here and there over the past couple of years on this channel. Most notably in my Battle for Bikini Bottom revisit, I had that running joke where I said I wanted a hug from Larry because of how muscly he is. And the thing is, I'm not, to be honest, in reality, I'm not really into masculine guys all that much, like the super masculine guys. I prefer, there's a certain subset of men that I'm interested in, but yeah, I won't go too much into specifics about that, but yeah, that's just kind of a funny thing, I suppose. But I did kind of hint at it on my Twitter, especially. I had the rainbow flag, obviously, added to my username back in June of 2020. I did that intentionally, kind of dropped the hints that I was part of the community, but I could have just been doing that as a straight ally all this time, for all you know. But I'm sure that's what people probably assumed. But so actually, to be honest, I may have said it. There may have been time on my Let's Play channel where I did actually say that I was bisexual. It might have been during a Donkey Kong 64 episode, because I did that revisit that game a couple of years back, and I might have said it at some point during that LP, but I don't think a lot of people watched it, so yeah, it's not really as big of as officially announcing it here. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is to that subject. It's just I'm bisexual. There's nothing more to it. It's just that it just means that I like men and women. Well, there's more to bisexuality than that. It doesn't necessarily have to mean two sexes that you're into. It could be multiple sexes. It can be, and not only that, but the attraction can differ tremendously from person to person. Just because you're bisexual does not mean that you are equally attracted to men and women. It's not like that all the time. It can be for some people, but it's definitely not for me. I can tell you that. For me, it's more of a physical attraction towards men and an emotional attraction to women, essentially. And as far as But the thing is, I might actually be coming out as pansexual soon because I don't know for sure. Ultimately, it's up to me. I could still say I'm bisexual, but still be attracted to non-binary people as well, and I am. But, really just comes down to, in that particular area, it just comes down to the individual person, essentially, so I don't know. But I could always change my identity to pansexual if I want to, because that might be what I go by at a certain point. But, yeah, that's pretty much how it is. So with that topic out of the way, now let's cut to July 16th, 2021, 6 days ago. Probably 7 days ago if it takes me that long to edit this video. It's almost 4 in the morning, geez, okay. And yeah, it was a Friday, looks like. So yeah, Friday last week I was at work, and oftentimes when I'm at work I get lost in my thoughts, especially when I'm stocking grocery area, because it's very quiet, there's no customers, so all I have to focus on is what I'm doing. And sometimes I tend to get lost in my thoughts because it's a simple task, and that's what I like about that job. It's simple, but it keeps me busy all night, so I can just do it and the shift flies by. But basically, yeah, I was stocking shelves, and all of a sudden, completely randomly, I popped the question in my head, am I really a man? I don't know what prompted me to think that, but yeah, basically that thought just randomly came to my head, and I could not answer that question yes comfortably. I felt like I wasn't being honest with myself saying yes, so this led to a long train of thoughts. And this long train of thoughts led to me coming to the conclusion that the reason I hate my face, and just, myself in general, is because I have been living a lie my entire life. All 25 and a half years have been a lie. This whole time I have been masquerading as a man because that's what I was basically told I was from birth. Based off what's below the hood, that's what I am. And that is a lie. Because the truth is, what's under the hood has absolutely nothing to do with your gender identity. But I also could not identify as a woman, because I didn't feel that's me either. So with that, I came to the conclusion that I am non-binary. And so with that, the self-discovery only continued. I thought it ended 3 years ago, finding out that I was bisexual, but now I know that I'm non-binary, and it's still it was a lot to take in at the time, and it's still slowly setting in, but yeah, it was just a weird conclusion to come to, I suppose, but it just makes all the more sense, like why I hate my face, why I hated myself all these years. And if you're someone in my situation where you also don't like your face or anything about you or just something, definitely ask yourself some questions, like why do I hate myself like this? Is this the real me? Is that the issue? Just stuff like that. There's all sorts of different reasons why people have depression and self-esteem issues, and that could be one of them, Unfortunately, we live in a society that tells us that this is what you are if you are born with this part on you, This is what you identify as, this is what you are. And that is one of the biggest lies out there. So at this point, you might be wondering, where are things going from here, essentially? Like, what does this mean? Like, just me finding out that I'm non-binary. What exactly does that mean? Well, for the future, that could mean a change in physical appearance. There's a lot of things I'm considering. The whole point is trying to feel like the real me, like myself that's inside, essentially. And among those things I've been thinking about is getting a wig. Because I don't care for my hair. At least if I got a wig, I could feel like myself, but also it's interchangeable, so I could take it off to keep up this whole male persona for the public. Like when I'm at work and stuff like that, and for family members. So far, I've only came out to my friends, I have not come out to my parents at all. I've only come out to one family member, and that's the family member who's transgender, because I knew I could trust them with that information and that they would understand. But something like this is a lot more difficult to explain to your parents than that you're gay or bisexual, or even that you're transgender. Well, specifically binary transgender. If you're binary transgender, your parents probably still might have an issue with it, and they might not take it very well. But it's at least, you know, you can at least explain as I was born this way, but I'm actually this, you know. But to explain that your parents that you're neither a man nor a woman, that's a bit more difficult to take in and probably harder to understand. So I don't know when or if I will tell my parents about this, like let alone my dad and his family. But I do think that it's going to be a challenge when it comes to that. But yeah, meantime, it's just friends and the one family member. But yeah, like I said, in case anyone is wondering, feel free to comment any questions you have, but my pronouns are they, them for now. They, them, theirs. And yeah, like I said, I'm planning to get a wig, possibly change my hairstyle. The change in hairstyle might be a little longer than the wig. I see the wig as like a better, like just as a good temporary solution. I don't know, I know nothing about hairstyles whatsoever. So I'm afraid to go to a hairstylist and get it worked on, especially with it being this short. Like, I hate this military cut. I hate it so much. Like, I at least respect my hair more when it's long, but the problem is it's always getting in my face, and I hate that. So I'm always brushing it aside, and then I get it cut, and then I hate the way it looks because it's a military cut, and it just looks stupid on me, you know? I just don't like it. So I see a wig as just the easier solution at this point. Another issue is my glasses. These are also a big part of the problem. I don't like my face. There are solutions to that. I could get laser eye surgery, but that's freaking expensive and also risky. Yeah, I know laser eye surgery does come with its risk. You know, I've definitely done my research on it, but you know, and there's other solutions too. When I do get new prescriptions, which I really need to, I haven't changed my glasses since May 2016, like no joke. So I am due for a new prescription. I still have to squint whenever I'm looking at stuff far away, which is the whole point of these glasses. So yeah, I definitely need new prescriptions. And there is the potential with that to get new frames that better suit myself. So that is a potential. Like, I could get better, more personal frames. This I don't care for. I don't like it. I thought I could just suffice back in the day, but no, it's just dumb at this point. Now I know some of you will probably bring up the topic of contacts. That's another way you can correct your vision with contacts. I tried contacts at one point. I just couldn't do it. My eyes are way too sensitive for contacts, so that's out of the question. I could not put them without my eyes just shutting immediately when I'm trying to put them in. So it's just not happening. There's another big thing though that really could affect my Let's Plays, and that is my voice. I'm actually considering changing it to be slightly more feminine. I mean, the idea for now is to just change my appearance such that nobody can tell what my sex is just by looking at me, essentially. That's the whole idea. That'll make me feel more me, is if someone can't tell what my, can't assume what's under the hood based off what I look like, essentially. That's pretty much all I have to say. I'm sorry about this video being so long. Now, I just want to say to those of you out there who are also in the closet, my channel is a safe space to come out and express yourself and share your experiences. Definitely feel free to. Never be afraid to share experiences with me, because I am a lot more open-minded on the subjects than I was back in the day, and even stuff I don't know about, I'm willing to listen, okay? I just want anyone out there who is closeted to know that I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to understand, I'm willing to learn more about, the stuff as I go through discovering myself, essentially. I want to hear about other people's experiences, and I want them to feel not afraid at all to share them with me, essentially. I also have a Discord server. I made it very clear in the server rules that LGBT people are very much welcome there, and welcome to even share their experiences, coming out and stuff like that. Definitely feel free to, now that I've done it on this video. I mean, you could have done it before, but yeah. if I see any hater comments below, whether it is to me or people sharing their experiences, I am not afraid to censor people from my videos and block them. I know you can't, YouTube, I guess blocking isn't a thing on YouTube anymore, but I will not be afraid to censor anybody who tries to spread hate speech on this channel, because it is not welcome whatsoever. There are other platforms around where you can do that all you want, but this is not one of them, at least this channel. So yeah, if you are subscribed to me and you are a homophobe, the door's over there. So yeah, I felt I should make this video just in case the subject ever came up, and if my appearance was to, officially start to change on here. So you all know what's up. Another thing a really important thing to me, and also with my friends too, that I'm really trying to do is to not say pronouns. Like I'm guilty of saying, wrong pronouns, and even, in general, like I'm just trying to avoid using gender pronouns, actually. Just trying to go with they. You might have heard I was actually trying to do that in the Zelda Skyward Sword episode that I posted. So yeah, that's the thing I'm working on. I have a lot to work on, basically. Like, even though I am part of the community myself, I have stuff that I have to work on to improve myself, to better myself. So that way I can that way I can improve people's perspective or perception of me, essentially. But yeah, if you have any questions that aren't hateful feel free to post them in the comments below. And with all that, that's pretty much all I have to say for today. There will be another video later today, which is an actual vlog for today, July 22nd. It'll be out 6 p.m. Should be posting this at 12 p.m. if everything goes well. And with all that said, thank you so much for supporting my channel, and thank you so much for sticking around if you still are after this. I want to issue my condolences to any LGBT youth out there that are involved in the public school system and are forced to keep their true selves, suppressed and secret, just because of the, quite frankly, the awful way that the public school system is dealing with it, just ignoring it straight up, and not, talking about it and being open about it. It's just very upsetting. We really are in a very cruel world, aren't we? Alright, with all that said, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you all later. Bye.